Hey guys, what's up? My name is Alyce, and I am Exiled Power's Healing Priest. I am here today on the beta to go over another Legion dungeon. This one is the Eye of Azshara. Couple things before we start. First off, please remember that this is beta, so things are subject to change, so if you're watching this video at a later date, then there may be some differences. Second, this is on heroic difficulty, so the numbers will be different from if you are doing it on Mythic, and there may be some ability changes as well. Third, this is the first dungeon I did as Discipline, so I'm still kind of learning the playstyle in this one. So the Eye of Azshara is amidst outlying shoals off the coast of Azuna. An ancient source of power lies beneath the waves. Long ago, the power of Queen Azshara extended throughout these lands, and the Naga seeking the Tidestone of Golganath still act at her behest. As clouds roll in and the air crackles with the energy of an approaching storm, Azshara's followers prepare to summon an incarnation of her wrath to lay waste to the land. So as you can see, it is a lot of Naga. It is a coastal type dungeon, and you can see in the background there that big purple shield is actually where the final boss is. The entire dungeon is open. You can mount in here, and you can do the first 4 bosses in any order that you want. However, most of the time you just kind of go in a circle around the dungeon and then go to the center. The first boss that we are going to come up to is Warlord Parjesh. He's a fierce commander, overseeing the military might of the Naga that have overrun Azuna, in search of the Tidestone of Golganath. He is second only to Alyce among the Hatecoil and commands obedience with an equal measure of fear and respect. He does have 4 abilities. The first one is Crashing Wave. He charges forward, inflicting 762,700 frost damage to all targets struck. Crashing Wave then leaves behind puddles of quicksand, inflicting 163,300 nature damage to all targets within the quicksand every 2 seconds, and it also reduces your movement speed by 35%. His second ability is Impaling Spear. He throws a spear at an enemy, rending the first target struck. The strike inflicts 384,400 physical damage every 2 seconds for 12 seconds. His next ability is Throw Spear. He hurls a spear at a random enemy, inflicting 355,900 physical damage and an additional 169,700 physical damage every 3 seconds for 9 seconds. His next ability is actually Call Reinforcements. He calls 2 adds to help him. The first is Hatecoil Shellbreaker, which is a melee add, and the second is the Hatecoil Crestrider, which is a caster. The Shellbreaker has 1 ability, which is Bellowing Roar. He inflicts 217,800 physical damage to all enemies. After using Bellowing Roar, the caster becomes motivated, increasing damage done by 10% for 30 seconds, and the effect stacks. The caster add has 2 abilities. The first is Lightning Strike, which inflicts 115,700 nature damage to a random enemy, and then also Restoration. She channels restorative waters around her allies, healing them for 2% health every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. The boss's final ability is his Enrage. At 30% remaining health, he enrages, gaining 30% haste. All in all, it's a fairly easy fight on heroic. I can see in Mythic dungeons you're probably going to have to do a lot more with the ads. We pretty much just kind of ignored them in heroic because he went down so fast. So as you see here, we are going to go around, kill some more trash. It's all fairly easy. A lot of arcane magic from the female Nagas. But we will be going down to the water at the bottom there. I would suggest having a water strider in this dungeon. It's not a huge deal since it's all pretty shallow water, but it does help to have that. So we will continue going down this side here, and the next boss does have several abilities. So her name is Lady Hatecoil, and she is a Naga sea witch. She hails from a long line of Hatecoil nobility and is favored by Queen Azshara herself. The waves in the skies heed her call as she harnesses their power to crush any who would oppose the Hatecoil. This is a pretty interesting fight. I'm excited to try it on Mythic, but it's pretty cool. So her first ability is Static Nova. She electrifies the water in the surrounding area, inflicting 777,900 nature damage to players touching the water and stunning them for 5 seconds. So when that happens, you do want to get up on one of the sand dunes that are around her. Her second ability is Focused Lightning. She targets all players with a Focused Lightning Strike, inflicting 555,800 nature damage after a brief cast. Any lightning strikes will blow away nearby sand dunes. Also with that is Excess Lightning. Each player struck by Focused Lightning releases Excess Lightning, inflicting 130,500 nature damage to nearby players. Excess Lightning also blows away any sand dunes it strikes. So when she's casting Focused Lightning, you want to spread out, be away from other players, and be as far away from the sand dunes as you can so that you're not blowing away all the dunes, because you do need them for that first ability. Her third ability is Beckon Storm. She beckons the tides to aid her, summoning several salt sea globules near her enemies. And these globules only have one ability, which is Watery Splash. They explode upon death, inflicting 25,000 frost damage to players within 5 yards and reducing their movement speed by 20% for 6 seconds. Her next ability is Curse of the Witch. She curses enemies with arcane magic. When the curse is removed, the bearer releases a blast of arcane energy in a frontal cone, knocking away players and destroying lesser creatures. So you can use those to kill the globules. Her next ability, and the final one you really have to worry about, is Monsoon. The monsoons follow their nearest targets, knocking players high into the air and blowing away sand dunes they come in contact with. So you can see it actually just destroyed that one there. Her last ability is actually if you get too far away from her, and it is Crackling Thunder. Vicious lightning strikes players who leave Lady Hatecoil's arena, inflicting 448,600 nature damage and increasing damage taken from Crackling Thunder by 25% for 20 seconds. So basically it's just keeping you near the boss. Like I said, it's a very interesting fight, and you don't have to worry about it too much on Heroic. Your healer will hate you if you don't get on the sand dunes and into the water when you need to, but that's about it. So right here, our tank actually DC'd, so we are going to go ahead and fast forward to when we get a new tank. Alright, so we are back in business. We finally have another tank. So for this next boss, he is that big Hydra head that is coming out there. You do want to clear all of the trash that is around him, because as you see, there's a bunch of different holes, and during the fight, there are going to be Hydra heads that come out during through the holes, and this has a lot of damage that is going out even on Heroic, so you do not want to be taking extra adds while you're doing this, especially starting out at the beginning of the expansion. So we are going to go through and clear this entire area, just so that we have it clear for the boss fight. As you can also see, this is not in the dungeon journal at all that I can see, but the violent winds happen throughout the dungeon, and they just pull you, I believe, towards the center, or maybe away from the center of the dungeon. It does happen while you're fighting, it happens while you're just walking. It does not affect people that have disconnected, as we noticed with the tank that just DC'd. Everybody else was getting pushed away, and he was staying in the one spot. I'm not sure what triggers that, and it doesn't do any real damage, so it just pushes you. As you can see there also, there is a treasure in here that is there sometimes, so you can always go and check that as well. Alright, so this boss is a Naga camped at the Eye of Azshara to keep a healthy distance from his northern reaches. An ancient scaled beast makes its home in the shallows there, occasionally bursting forth with one of its many snake-like necks to devour nearby prey. His first ability is Poison Spit. He spits poison at a random enemy. The poison spit travels faster or slower depending on the direction of the winds. So there you go, that does have the winds in there. His next ability is Toxic Wound. He causes a toxic wound on a random player, causing the player to create a trail of toxic puddles. The puddles inflict 173,400 nature damage every 1 second while you stand in them. His third ability is Rampage. If he is ever unable to reach an enemy with his melee attack, he enters a rampage wildly spitting poison. His last ability is Submerge. Upon reaching 33% and 66% health, Serpentrix submerges and then emerges at a distant location, summoning 2 Hydra spawns. The 2 are the Blazing Hydra and the Arcane Hydra. The Blazing Hydra has Blazing Nova as its ability. It inflicts 112,000 fire damage to enemies within 100 yards of the Hydra spawn. And the Arcane Hydra has Arcane Blast, which inflicts 90,000 arcane damage to a random target, generating an arcane charge to the Hydra spawn, and the arcane charges increases the damage dealt by 50%, and the effect stacks. Now, I have done this dungeon a couple times, and I have been in groups where they do not touch the adds. You do not want to do that because we have wiped every single time the DPS just tunneled the main boss. It's too much damage. I've done this as Holy as well, so it is not a disc issue. It is a lot of damage, and you do have to take care of the other heads that spawn as well. So the next boss that we are coming up to here, you can skip a lot of this trash. Just hug the side here. You can go right up to the boss. You will kill the 2 big elemental guys and some murlocs and stuff in the way. So this boss is King Deepbeard, and sailors tell of a behemoth that strides the ocean floor, surging from the depths to tear vessels apart with his bare hands. They say he wears the intact prow of a ship as a pauldron as a trophy. Most listeners dismiss these reports as fool's tales, the product of too much grog. So again, you can skip some more of this trash as well. This boss's first ability is Call the Seas. He calls the seas to his aid, inflicting 22,400 frost damage every 0.3 seconds. His second ability is Gaseous Bubbles. The gaseous bubble absorbs 550,000 damage but causes a gaseous explosion if the bubble is not depleted after 20 seconds. The explosion inflicts frost damage to all enemies equal to the absorbed shield amount remaining on the gaseous bubble. So as you'll see, the bubbles will spawn on a couple players, and you just kind of want to go around and take as much damage as you can to get rid of that bubble so it does not explode for higher damage. His third ability is Ground Slam. He inflicts 785,000 physical damage to enemies within 15 yards of the impact location, ignoring armor.
Beware.
And his final ability is Quake. King Deepbeard causes a quake that inflicts 261,700 physical damage to enemies and their allies within 5 yards. Quake causes aftershock after 4 seconds. So as you see, I have the bubble on me here. I'm trying to go through and take damage as much as I can to try to get rid of it.
Beware.
And there is his quake.
Beware.
Now it looks like the gaseous bubbles may prefer ranged. I'm not 100% sure on that though. So after that, we are going to make our way to the final boss here. There are a bunch of Naga that are summoning him, and you do have to kill all of those before you can attack the boss. Most of the time you just go over to this one that we're going to here, kill them one at a time until you go around. They do have their own abilities. Some of them hurt a little more than others, but you don't want to pull too many at once. And as you see, you are still getting violent winds throughout this part of the dungeon as well. So the boss that they are summoning is the Wrath of Azshara. One of Azshara's most loyal handmaidens offered herself willingly to her queen to serve as the instrument of her vengeance. Summoned by Hatecoil channelers as a last resort after Parjesh's failure, the terrifying Wrath of Azshara exists to wash away all landwalkers who would stand against her. So the first ability of many is Massive Deluge. Inflicts 1 million frost damage to players in an area in front of the caster, knocking them away. So anybody but the tank needs to not be in front of her. Second ability is the Mystic Tornado. She summons an arcane tornado nearby each player, colliding with a tornado, inflicts 378,000 arcane damage, and knocks you away. Third ability is Arcane Bomb. She causes a massive arcane bomb to fall onto a target player's location. When dispelled, the bomb no longer tracks the target but continues to fall. Upon reaching the ground, Arcane Bomb inflicts 696,900 arcane damage to players within 10 yards and stuns them for 6 seconds. So this one is actually a debuff. I believe I get it here shortly. You just kind of want to run away and, especially as a healer, kind of run away and then dispel yourself. Otherwise, you just want to make sure you are not near anybody else before you get dispelled. Her next ability is Raging Storms. She invokes the powers of a Raging Storm when no enemies are in melee combat, inflicting 340,000 frost damage to all enemies and increasing frost damage taken by 10% for 20 seconds. The effect stacks. Next is Crushing Depths. The Wrath of Azshara targets a player for a crushing detonation, inflicting 60% of their maximum health and physical damage. This percentage is split among all players within 12 yards. She also has Heaving Sands, which is a melee attack causing the ground to tremble, inflicting 70,000 physical damage to all players. He also has Elemental Resonance. The Wrath of Azshara is a being of immense magical energy. Upon striking foes with magic, a lingering effect remains behind. Magical Resonance is Arcana Nature damage from the Wrath of Azshara mark at target, increasing Arcana Nature damage taken by 10% for 5 minutes. This effect stacks. And Frost Resonance is the frost damage from the Wrath of Azshara, marks its target, reducing movement speed by 5% for 5 minutes, and the effect stacks. Her final ability is Cry of Wrath. She empowers the weather at 10% health remaining, calling forth a vastly intensifying the destructive storm. Violent winds periodically blow through the cove, making it difficult to remain stationary. Lightning Strike Lightning periodically strikes the ground, inflicting 235,500 nature damage to enemies within 4 yards. And Tidal Wave. The Wrath of Azshara commands massive tidal waves, which inflict 302,500 frost damage to all players within their path. So that is the final boss for the Eye of Azshara. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe below. Check us out on exiledpower.com. If you have any questions on Disc Priest play or uh, the dungeon in general, please leave it in the comments section below, and we will see you soon for another video.